Okay, Georgetta Gankar is here, so we're just finishing the rest of the portrait here, and we're doing the abstraction. We talked about working with lines, and I do want to show you, as I'm finishing this, I am leaving certain lines in certain areas, but I just want to show you the texture and how it's building up. So remember that this is only within 5 minutes. This is the second part. And we're going to start building up the texture more. This is just putting, again, the shape. And this is the interesting part where we can take, the knife, we can kind of scrape it off. We can give it some texture. We can put some more color back on. But we're going to layer this, and it's going to have maybe about 5 or 6 layers on top. So as you can see, when you were watching, we did one layer, and now we're kind of moving to the second layer here. And again, we're just using the small knife at this point, because if I use the standard knife, I have a little bit of advantage as far as going into a little bit of smaller places. And I'm just putting tiny bits of a little bit of a blue shadow, mixing it, just to have a little bit of contrast. I'm going to go back and we're going to build up that light area again. But we want to start building up those areas of the face. And we're going to cover it with a lighter color. The thing is, we want to let some of the dark show through, but not all of it, just so we get a little bit of a contrast here. So that face color doesn't look just so bland, that we just have just a regular white or cream color. Remember, your face can be any color, right? And we want to build up these light areas too. So when we talked about the lightest areas being the chin, right under here, we have the cheek, where we're going to build this up again, and the chin. And then we want to divide this space. We want to bring in a chin. It was just a little bit too wet to work with before, so we couldn't bring in the face color. And we can work on top of that. And I'm just dragging the knife, like I said, lightly. And practice leaving some of those strokes, practice leaving some of those strokes, because we're going to go back and work with them and cover them up. But they're going to work to your advantage. You see how you can just blend that and just make a shadow. And we can put this color on top. It's more of the face color, but we do want some dark areas to show through. And we'll make that line thinner. We can also, the cool thing about the palette knife, I want to show you something. You can kind of scrape it out and start again. This is my center of point. This is actually, I'm going to have this a little bit darker. This is going to be a black line or a darker line here. I'm going to start with some dark blue. Then I'm going to start making it a little bit darker, just so I have a little bit of contrast, so I don't lose all the face. But I want my eye to go back up to this area here and her dark hair. So I'm going to choose a color like purple and maybe some black, and that's going to change here. And I just barely, touch it with the knife, just dragging it down, just making this a little bit more apparent. And then I'm going to do the same for here. Just need a little shadow, not a lot. I'm going to start building, and then I'm going to start putting the light pockets back into the lip, because we lost a lot of the light. This area is going to be a little bit lighter. Remember when we talked about the lips? about how we might have some areas having a little bit more light. And we're going to blend it a little bit better. Okay, so start working with the figure again. I'm going to change a little bit of this eye. This is going to be a little smaller. I'm going to have some hair coming down here. I'm going to shorten the size of this face and make it a little bit more thinner. And I just kind of move. When I do that, I do move from the sides of the canvas. And I want to have a straight edge. So I do use the small knife. Again, if you want a really good edge, you could use the half blade. So this is the second part, layering. I'm going to keep layering it. I'm going to show you drastically how it's going to change. And I'm just going to spend about 5 minutes on this. Going to let it dry. Then I'm going to work to the next layer. So again, abstraction done in 5 minutes, covering the canvas, having your idea down. The other thing is I tell students, you know, in order to understand abstraction, you have to be able to look at abstract artists. So it's really important that even if you're not looking at abstract artists, try looking at expressionism. Expressionism is going to teach you a lot about color and form. So you might look at Modigliani. You see, he doesn't put in this one particular portrait, he just kind of can't make out the face, you just kind of make out the shape. Try looking at other artists. Great example here, where when you're looking at the face, you're just paying attention to the black lines. Do you see that, how that's kind of outlined? And then there's washes on top. But look at all those beautiful washes that are done on top. So again, in order to understand abstraction, I know sometimes students will say, well, that doesn't really look like anything. Well, that's the point of the idea. Sometimes it's just to capture the light on the face. Sometimes it's just to capture the mood. You know, when I do landscapes, and I'll do another video on abstraction on landscapes, what I do is I take my cell phone and I'll take pictures using the anti-shake. I'll take it off and I'll kind of shake at the camera if I'm looking at someone, or if I want to do a landscape and have it very blurry, I might put water on the lens or Vaseline and then take the picture like that, and I get a totally different view. I might play with filters, and then I'll paint from those images. So feel free to explore. And again, you know, don't put yourself so much in a tight box. Another artist that you could look at for faces is also George Grosz. So he does kind of these outline, these linear kind of forms. So when you're starting off, just look at the forms and look at the shapes and start just doing portraits. Then you can work your whole way to doing the whole figure and the body. So I'll do another video just on examples of books that you can look at for abstraction and tips of how to make the figure abstract with using your cell phone camera, and just looking at different people, whether it's going to be if you're walking through the marketplace or the mall, or you're taking pictures of yourself or your family or relatives, whatever, and how to make that abstraction work and what you can do with your cell phone and different types of apps. So I'll see you soon. Have a great day. Ciao.